show that dominates cable news, The O'Reilly Factor.
Nice to stay with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly. In Personal Story segment tonight, some Americans, including the editorial writers at Investors Business Daily, are angry that a few American Muslims are asking for special stuff. At the airport in Kansas City, special foot washing showers have been installed. Authorities say no public funds were used. In New York City, an Arabic school, the Khalil Gibran International Academy, is planned. Anyone can attend, but come on, it's obvious what that is. And in Minnesota, the Minneapolis Community and Technical College, St. Cloud State, and the University of Minnesota Duluth either have or are considering foot baths for Muslim students on campus. And by the way, the community college mentioned banned a food cart guy from playing Christmas music in the dorms. Joining us now from Washington, Ibrahim Raimi, Director of Human Rights for the Muslim American Society Freedom Foundation. And from Los Angeles, Edina Lekovic, the Communications Director for the Muslim Public Affairs Council. Edina, we'll begin with you. The Kansas City thing is the biggest deal because a lot of cab drivers in that area who are Muslim and they want to pray and you have to wash your feet, and now they said, look, you know, we want this facility in the airport. Is that okay with you, or is it wrong?
It's certainly okay. What we're talking about are faucets here. They don't place an undue burden. They don't create an unreasonable expectation. And I think the opportunity for accommodation here is one that is simple and straightforward. It is certainly by no means a requirement, but the ability of the public facility to offer the additional faucets is a courtesy, and it should be viewed as such. It is a courtesy, but then it opens the door to other religions saying, well, I would like this courtesy. I'd like to have a holy water. I'd like to have a holy water font. We have a great tradition as a country of being accommodating and courteous when it doesn't place an undue burden on other communities.
Okay,
or other
but then
individuals.
You're getting into the public space being used for religious purposes, and that's the separation of church and state they trot out every 2 minutes. So if I say, look, okay, the Muslim foot baths in Kansas City, I have no problem with it, but I'd like a holy water font because I want to bless myself in my prayer ritual, and I'm sure Jewish people would want maybe something that they would find comforting in the airport, and then the Buddhists would want what they find comforting. You see, where does it end?
I see what you're saying, Bill, but the reality is that in airports across this country, we have chapels that accommodate the religious needs of a lot of different religious groups.
They're interdenominational chapels.
Exactly, and that by no means infringes upon anyone, and it's simply a matter of making those facilities available.
Okay.
And this situation is another example of making facilities available.
Mr. Raimi, what about the Khalil Gibran International School, funded by the New York City public school system? Now, this is obviously a school aimed at the Arabic culture, Muslims, and is that okay with you?
Well, let's look at it objectively. First of all, not every person who is an Arab is a Muslim, but there are perhaps tens of thousands of people in the New York area that are Arabic speaking, and like any other dual language school, the school is created to accommodate the needs of students and needs of families who speak another language. And the last I heard, there was no crime involved in speaking the Arabic language anywhere in the United States. So I don't think it's a special accommodation. I think that other dual language schools exist and will exist. And I think it's simply a recognition of the demographics of that particular community.
So you don't think it's a special accommodation for the New York City public school system to build a school that is basically for Arabic people?
Any more so than it would be a special accommodation to build a school for people who speak another language other than English.
No, but I don't know of any other
Arabic.
ethnicity in this city that has a school.
Well, you know, the New York City public school system, which I did work for about 2 years, has more than 80 languages, perhaps as many as 100 languages.
That's okay. I don't mind a language deal, but I don't know any school in the New York City area or anyplace else in America that is there for a specific ethnic group.
Well, it's there. Let me just finish. It's there as a dual language school to accommodate students and families who speak the Arabic language. There's nothing wrong with that.
But there's nothing. There's no Russian. There's nothing. You know. All right. Okay. Let's get on to the colleges. Now, the colleges, this Minnesota college particularly, very active. They some Muslim students want their own dorms. They, again, the foot showers every place. They want them. This, that, and the other thing. Again, publicly funded money, Edina going into these schools, all people of all religions funding them, and they're the Muslims saying, look, we want our own dorms, we want more foot baths, prayer rugs, we want, you know, whatever we want. And it's all based on religion, and again, the separation of church and state issue comes up, does it not?
It all depends on your view. Now, look, what happens on college campuses across this country, and we've all had experiences in these areas. I went to UCLA for my undergrad, and that's a public university, and there were floors of dorms that were dedicated to certain types of students. You had, and those were self-selecting, volunteering students who chose to live on those floors of those dorms that were either African American or that had different affiliations.
They can choose your roommate. This is a structural thing that they want built.
No, it's certainly the same thing, because if there is a special need to build something, then we're potentially getting into new territory. Obviously, we shouldn't. The standard here, there's not a one-size-fits-all solution. The standard here is going to be situational, where the religious freedoms of one group should not infringe upon the rights of any other group.
It seems to me that some Muslims want special status, Mr. Ramey.
Well, it certainly doesn't seem to me that way.
It's a religious-based thing. They want to be able to pray in the middle of wherever they want with the rugs and this, that, and the other thing, and it's a public facility. I'll give you the last word, sir.
Public facilities and private needs are not necessarily in contradiction, and when there's a collision between the right of one group or the preference of one group and the right of a larger community to determine the use of space, then the ideal way to approach it from our perspective is the approach of negotiation and logical conversation, and not polemics and not hatred directed against one group.
Okay. Thank you very much. Very interesting discussion. We appreciate it. Directly ahead, lots of body language, action.